Jessica lived in a small, modest house at the edge of a quiet village. It was a humble dwelling, made of stone, with a thatched roof that was slowly starting to wear. Jessica's life, however, was anything but humble. Her mother had passed away when she was just a baby, leaving her in the care of her stepmother, Madame Amelia. Amelia, a tall and striking woman, had come to the village a few years after Jessica's mother's death. She had quickly married Jessica's father, but after his sudden passing, Amelia's true nature had come to light. Madame Amelia was cold, cruel, and unfair to Jessica. Every day, she reminded her that she was nothing more than an unwanted child. Her real affection was saved for her own daughter, Marissa. Marissa, with her golden hair and charming smile, was spoiled and lazy. She never lifted a finger to help with chores and always received the best of everything: new dresses, fine food, and attention from the villagers. In contrast, Jessica was made to clean the house, cook the meals, and take care of the garden. She worked tirelessly, even though no one ever praised her efforts. The villagers loved Jessica for her sweet nature and hard-working ways, but they often whispered their pity when they saw how poorly she was treated by her stepmother and stepsister. One chilly autumn morning, the village was buzzing with excitement. An invitation had arrived for all the young women in the kingdom. The king was hosting a grand ball to celebrate his birthday, and every eligible woman in the land was invited to attend. Madame Amelia was thrilled, seeing it as an opportunity to marry off Marissa to a rich nobleman. "I'm sure one of the noblemen will want to marry you, my dear," Madame Amelia said, adjusting Marissa's bright pink dress. "You will be the most beautiful at the ball." Jessica, on the other hand, was told that she wouldn't be allowed to go. "You're not important enough to be at such an event," her stepmother declared harshly. "Who would want a poor, plain girl like you?" Jessica's heart sank as she quietly returned to her chores. She longed to go to the ball, not to find a rich husband, but to finally experience a night of freedom, away from the constant mistreatment. She dreamt of wearing a beautiful dress and dancing with the kind young blacksmith's son, Jake. Jake had been a friend to Jessica for many years. He was a hard-working, quiet young man, known throughout the village for his skill in the forge and his kind heart. He often helped Jessica with small tasks around the house, though neither of them had ever openly confessed the feelings they had for each other. As the days passed, Jessica's longing to attend the ball grew stronger. She would often gaze at the stars at night, imagining what it would be like to wear a beautiful dress and dance with Jake. But deep down, she knew that her stepmother would never let her go. One evening, While Jessica was walking through the village square, Jake approached her. His broad shoulders and strong arms were a familiar sight in the village, but there was something different in his eyes tonight. He had gathered the courage to speak to her. "Jessica," Jake said softly, "I heard about the ball. Are you going to attend?" Jessica's heart raced. She had wanted to tell Jake about her dream of going, but she had always been afraid he wouldn't understand. Still, she knew that she couldn't lie to him. "I wish I could, Jake, but my stepmother won't let me," she said, her voice tinged with sadness. Jake's face softened, and he stepped closer to her. "You deserve to go, Jessica. You deserve to be happy." Jake then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver ring. It was simple, but elegant, with a single stone that caught the light. He placed it in her hand. "This is for you," Jake said, his voice filled with sincerity. "A symbol of my affection. If you want to go to the ball, you should. Don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't do." Jessica's eyes filled with tears as she held the ring. It was more than she could have ever hoped for, a gift from the man she secretly loved. But when she looked up at Jake, her happiness was clouded by the fear of what would happen if she defied her stepmother. "Thank you, Jake," she whispered, clutching the ring tightly. "I'll never forget this." That night, as Jessica lay in her small, plain bed, she held the ring close to her chest. The weight of it was a reminder that there was something more for her out there, something beyond the life she had been forced to live. But she was still scared. The next morning, when Madame Amelia and Marissa found out that Jessica had planned to attend the ball, they were furious. Madame Amelia, her sharp eyes narrowing in anger, scolded Jessica harshly. "You are not worthy of such an event," she yelled, grabbing the ring from Jessica's hand. "This is a reminder of your place, below us." Jessica was heartbroken, but she didn't give up. She tried to find a way to attend the ball, but Madame Amelia had locked her in her room to keep her from escaping. In the silence of her room, Jessica heard a soft knock on her door. It was Olivia, an older woman who had been a friend of her mother and often offered her guidance. Olivia had seen Jessica's sorrow and always offered a kind word. "Jessica," Olivia said softly, "I know what you've been through. You deserve to be happy. Let me help you." Olivia had a plan. She had made a simple but beautiful dress for Jessica, using fabric she had collected over the years. She also helped her sneak out of the house, slipping out through a hidden door that led to the forest. That evening, Jessica entered the grand ballroom, her heart racing with excitement. The music, the laughter, the dancing. It was all so overwhelming. For the first time in her life, she felt free. she was no longer a servant in her own home. She was a woman with a future, with dreams. As the night went on, Jessica found herself standing alone near the dance floor, waiting for a familiar face. She scanned the crowd, hoping to see Jake. When their eyes met, it was as though time stopped. They shared a dance, their hands clasped together. They spoke softly, their words filled with dreams and hopes for the future. Jessica was overwhelmed by the joy she felt, and for the first time, she dared to hope that her life could be different. But just as Jessica was starting to believe that everything might be perfect, things began to change. Baron Edmund, a wealthy nobleman with sharp features and a smooth tongue, noticed Jessica and approached her. He was tall and handsome, with a smile that could charm anyone, and he wasted no time in asking her to dance. Jessica felt uneasy, but she couldn't refuse. She danced with him, his flattery and compliments flowing freely. But as the evening wore on, Jessica's attention kept drifting toward Jake. She searched the room, hoping to see him again. But when she found him, her heart dropped. He was dancing with Marissa. The sight of them together felt like a slap in the face. Was Jake no different from the other men who only cared about beauty and wealth? Did he forget about her so easily? Her heart twisted in confusion, and she felt her hopes begin to crumble. When the dance ended, Jessica excused herself, her heart heavy with betrayal. She needed to get away from the ball. She slipped out of the ballroom, her steps quick and unsure. On her way home, she was stopped by Baron Edmund once more. "Jessica," he said smoothly, "I have fallen in love with you. I want to marry you. You would have a life of luxury, everything you could ever want." Jessica's mind was clouded with confusion. She didn't know what to think anymore. Her heart still belonged to Jake, but seeing him with Marissa had made her doubt everything. Jessica returned home, but her heart was heavy. As she walked through the door, she found Marissa holding the ring that Jake had given her. Her stepsister smiled, a wicked grin on her face. "You've been stealing, Jessica," she sneered. "This ring is mine now." Madame Amelia joined in, accusing Jessica of being ungrateful and dishonest. Jessica's chest tightened with frustration and sadness. She tried to explain that Jake had given it to her, but they wouldn't listen. Just as Jessica was about to give up, she heard a loud knock at the door. It was Jake, and he wasn't alone. He had heard what had happened and had come to defend her. "I love Jessica," Jake declared, stepping forward, "and I will not let anyone stand in our way." He took the ring from Marissa's hand and placed it back on Jessica's finger. The confrontation with Baron Edmund and Madame Amelia continued, but in the end, Jessica realized that true love and honesty were far more valuable than wealth or status. Jessica and Jake were finally free to be together. They chose love over everything else. The village celebrated their union, and even the king, who had been watching the events unfold, invited them to a royal feast. Marissa, seeing her sister's happiness, began to change. Slowly, she realized that there was more to life than beauty and wealth, and she started treating others with kindness. As for Madame Amelia, she realized too late that her cruelty had driven her family apart. But Jessica and Jake, surrounded by love and happiness, knew that they had made the right choice. They would spend the rest of their lives together, living peacefully in the village that had once seen Jessica as nothing more than an unfortunate girl.